I'm just a fake silhouette, avoiding every threat. I wanna stay like a silhouette, but I can't do that. No, I can't do that.
Hey Internet friends, as we continue to chronicle the strange happenings of 2020 on this channel, today I want to discuss how American billionaires are now nearly 20% richer than they were before the United States economy shut down. That's over a $583 billion surge of wealth across the 0.001%, while 1.5 million working class Americans applied for unemployment benefits just last week, bringing the number of individuals receiving unemployment aid to 30 million. Since working class Americans and small business owners were the ones who were told by the government that they had to shut down their businesses during this time, even though businesses like Amazon remained open despite the stories of numerous outbreaks that occurred in their facilities. So today we're going to talk about the real looting that took place during the controlled demolition of the American economy. Pull it! Let's begin. I covered a story back in February about how a record number of major American CEOs stepped down at the beginning of 2020. There were many theories as to why these CEOs had been leaving in droves over the last year, peaking at the beginning of this year, ranging from theories like they had offices in China and saw the detrimental effects of the virus on the Chinese economy, so they had to get out of Dodge before things got bad, to the theory that they were tipped off by insiders to cash out on their stocks while prices were high and about to plummet from the economy shutting down, to the theory that these individuals might be bailing out before feeling the full force of an executive order signed in 2017 that authorized the seizure of assets of people and organizations involved in human rights abuse and corruption. Among the CEOs who stepped down were the CEOs of Disney, MasterCard, L Brands, otherwise known as Victoria's Secret, Uber Eats, Hulu, MGM, IBM, Salesforce, and LinkedIn. The Nestle CEO, Lockheed Martin, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, Nokia, you get the picture. You've got a good mix of corporatocracy juggernauts, banking creatures, and government contractors. A record number of CEOs left their positions within 2 months' time in 2020, but really this was a trend over the past year or so. In 2019, over 1,300 high-level CEOs had left their positions, even during record stock market highs, and apparently the last time such an influx of corporate resignations occurred, the year was 2002. But what's most interesting about these CEOs who stepped down at the beginning of 2020 was that their company stocks peaked in early February and tanked in March. So if these corporate executives did have knowledge that the economy was going to take a major hit, then by resigning in January and February, this allowed these corporate CEOs to cash out on their company stocks that they would otherwise be forced to keep while employed at the company. Before the stock market crash on February 20th, 2020, members of Congress engaged in an insider trading scandal using knowledge that was given to them at a closed Senate meeting. And they sold off their stocks right before the stock market crash. And ultimately, there was an investigation, but it was just one big show and nothing came of it. It appears members of Congress can trade using insider information with impunity. Unlike an executive in the private sector who buys or sells stock in their own company, members of Congress do not have to file a Form 4 with the SEC. So by law, they don't have to disclose their activity. 94% of Congress are now multimillionaires, and the average salary of a U.S. Senator is $174,000. Rules for thee, but not for me is the motto of our government, regardless of partisanship. Laws that apply to the common people, but not the privileged few. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't exactly spell out representative democracy to me. Unless I guess it's a representative democracy of corruption. Moving right along, it was also at the beginning of the year that the richest people in the world were making big moves. Jeff Bezos unloaded $4.1 billion worth of Amazon shares in February. And Bill Gates stepped down from the Microsoft board of directors in March to pursue his own personal brand of philanthropy. On March 21, 2020, it was reported that Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos had asked for government funding to the tune of $5 billion in grants or loans to keep commercial space company employees on the job and launch facilities open. Since, of course, Elon Musk runs SpaceX and has a net worth of $42 billion, Jeff Bezos is founder of the aerospace company Blue Origin and has a reported net worth of $163 billion. Both Elon and Jeff Bezos wanted the IRS to give them cash for R&D or research and development tax credits. So the billionaires wanted government handouts while the rest of the United States was out of work and confined to their homes, receiving a measly $1,200 stimulus check. Not only that, but Jeff Bezos actually started a relief fund for his employees during this time that encouraged everyone to donate to his contracted employees and delivery drivers during the lockdown. So not only did Bezos, who is on track to become the world's first public trillionaire, ask for handouts from the government, but he also asked for donations from peasants to keep his employees paid. Keep in mind, the tiny mom-and-pop restaurant down the street from me gave away free food to those who were hungry during the lockdown, no questions asked. But billionaires asked for handouts from the public to fund their companies. Amazon has benefited from the pandemic more than any other retailer because the government decided Amazon facilities were essential and sold essential items. Meanwhile, the mom-and-pop hardware store down the road had to close. You know, like how the Walmart bakery stayed open, but the bakery owned by your cousin had to shut down because it wasn't essential. So with an increased demand for e-commerce as small businesses and in-person retail stores complied with statewide lockdown measures, Bezos' wealth grew in dollars more than any other billionaire. And isn't it interesting that all of these companies who had to ask for public and government handouts, cut hours, and lay off employees somehow found the funds to donate millions of dollars to organizations like Black Lives Matter? And now it's come out that the 5 wealthiest Americans, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, and Larry Ellison, saw their wealth grow by a total of $101 billion over the last few months. And I wanted to discuss this today because it's like nobody cares. I think y'all care, but no one else does. They're happy working 40 plus hours a week at their job that barely pays the bills as long as they have their phone, with Instagram or TikTok on it and the television playing Netflix and 31 flavors of Baskin-Robbins ice cream to choose from. But beyond that, they don't care. So I'm just sitting over here wondering how to rephrase this. $583 billion of wealth has been transferred from the 99.99% to the 0.001% in a matter of months. $101 billion of that went to just 5 people, when the government told ordinary, everyday individuals they had to stay home and not work, while owners of massive corporations were given the okay to continue business as usual because they were identified by the government as essential. Now here's where it gets hairy because many of these billionaires walk a thin line between being a corporate executive and a government employee. Given that, like Bezos and Gates, for instance, were awarded exclusive government contracts throughout their career that ultimately got them where they are today. Taxpayers bankrolled the entire thing, Microsoft computers in every government building and school, special Amazon cloud contracts with intelligence agencies, special deals on shipping with the post office, which has financially hurt the post office, and now the American taxpayers give an $18 billion gift to the post office every year because of an Amazon exclusive corporate deal the United States awarded Bezos. I think it's safe to say that Bezos has a vested interest in keeping this lockdown going because he's the only retail ball game in town. Just like Bill Gates has a vested interest in keeping this lockdown going because he's invested in the cure for the virus. And those are just 2 billionaires that I'm mentioning. We're not even covering billionaires in the arenas of medicine, healthcare, technology, who most certainly have a vested interest in keeping countries locked down. At least that's what's going through my mind as I'm watching the media push corona numbers to the forefront as coverage of racism and riots die down. Because it's really looking like corona is coming back in full force after states have slowly opened back up. Just today, the governor of Texas has rolled back the reopening of the state, ordering bars to close and putting a restriction on outdoor gatherings once again, as the number of virus cases hit a daily record of 40,000 new cases. Now, what does it mean if states slow their openings? What does it mean if states lock down again? For one, it means even more wealth from the 99.99% gets transferred to the 0.001% based on the pattern that emerged in March. So my point here is that while it may be an election year, and you might engage in heated debates with your Democratic or Republican counterparts, or even engage in arguments over white lives matter versus black lives matter versus all lives matter, Asian lives matter, blue lives matter, none of it actually matters. The media, owned by corporations and individuals who have no loyalty to our nation, peddle this great lie, this enormous myth that anyone can achieve this American dream of wealth and success. But look around. I would bet that nearly everyone you know is a wage slave who owns nothing in their possession, not their car, house, or education. Yet somehow we've all been conned into blaming each other, regular everyday people, for our problems. No, it's white people's fault. No, it's the Democrats' fault. No, it's the alt-right's fault. No, it's illegal immigrants' fault. When really, it's everybody's fault. We've got to have some accountability here. It's everyone's fault who doesn't realize we're knee-deep in a game of Monopoly as this lockdown continues. The bank cannot run out of money, but you can. Your get-out-of-jail ticket is a vaccine, and nobody wins until everyone else loses. So who is really looting the American public? Are we in a race war or are we in a class war? And as social distancing prevails and individuals are isolated, separate from others, and driven to platforms like Facebook and Twitter to interact with others, how long will it be until we are all totally polarized? Totally separate from one another, divided and distracted by whatever story the media decides to peddle that day. What do you think, internet friends? You know, I always look forward to your comments. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, and supporting my channel on Patreon. Bye!
I'm just a fake silhouette.